Ratna Pathak Shah, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Happy New Year, Ratna ma'am.
The
You
same to
will be
you.
next seen in the Gujarati film Kutch Express that also marks your debut in Gujarati cinema.
That's
The film
right.
is, of course, the film is of course slated to release on Jan 6th, that's this Friday. What was it in the movie for you that attracted you the most?
The script, of course, that was the primary motivation. I have been looking for a Gujarati film to do. I would love to do work in Gujarati. It is my mother tongue. Quite literally, my mother spoke Gujarati. That's practically the first language I learned.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is something that I've been looking forward to, except that nothing particularly good had come my way so far. This time, the script was really wonderful. The project seemed to be consisting of a bunch of really interested and interesting people. And I have seen Mansi Parikh work before on the stage, and I have liked her work. So I thought that this is a good opportunity. And then when I met Mansi and the director and the other people who were going to be connected to the film, I found that this was really a bunch of people that was interested in making a good film. They did not want to cut corners. They did not want to take shortcuts. They were willing to put money where it was required. That's in the production. That's in communicating the story in the best way possible.
So then please tell us more about the film, its story and the message that it's carrying.
The message. Everyone wants to know the message. But the film really is a story about a family, a somewhat dysfunctional family, a family at the crossroads of modern life and an older traditional way of living. And the story is interested in questioning both the modern way of life as well as the traditional way of life. And through it is woven the story of this character, played by Mansi, who finds her own identity as part of the process. And it's peopled with very interesting characters. I play one of those. I'm her mother-in-law, with whom she shares a very special bond. For me, the really special quality was that the film talks about art and craft in a way that rung a very close bell, rung very closely in my heart. India is incredible because it has today, in 2022, living arts, people who work with their hands and produce such magnificent things. And we don't seem to recognize that enough. We don't seem to give our artisans the kind of importance and value that they deserve. We don't appreciate the beauty that we are surrounded by. And this film uses art as a way for this woman to make her progress in life. I think that was a lovely idea.
You belong to the brigade of some of the finest actors of Bollywood.
Thank you.
Do you know when you give a take that director passes as okay, but you know that you could have done better? Or has there been time when you know the editor or the director hasn't taken the better take? Can you spot that while watching a movie?
Quite honestly, most times no. When I'm watching a movie, then I don't look out for only my performance. I tend to see the whole movie because I get engrossed in the story if it is working. It's only when I see the film a couple of times afterwards, that's when I start noticing myself more distinctly. But no, I don't think that I have ever come across that situation. But the fact that, yes, sometimes the director has to okay a take that you think is not just absolutely right, but you're running out of time. There's no footage left. In the old days, you just ran out of film. Now, of course, that's not an issue. But all the same, it becomes very difficult in certain conditions to insist on a take, a retake, if basically the director is in agreement with what you have done. But sometimes you do ask for it, and most often the directors do agree because they can also see that if something better is possible, why not try? My performance in my first comedy production, Idhar Udhar, is concerned. I mean, when I see that now, I really cringe and think of how many things I could have done that would have been so much better. Same thing happens when I see Sarabhai. When I see that, and I say, oh, I wish I'd handled this thing like this. Or, but that's the क्या कहते हैं, the magic or the problem of cinema. You get just that one chance. Whatever is recorded, that's it. That lives for eternity. You've got to learn to live with your mistakes as much as you enjoy your successes. In the theatre, on the other hand, you get a chance to do another show and improve on what you have done. So the theatre is where you learn how to judge yourself. When you know something is going correctly and you know something is going wrong, to be able to tell the difference and not have to leave it entirely to the outside viewers to tell you whether it was right or wrong. Theatre really is a very good training ground for that.
You can easily be defined as that player of the cricket team who comes and hits a six on each ball.
Oh my God, don't put that pressure.
I'm talking about delivering outstanding performances, like beat Maya of Sarabhai versus Sarabhai, or Savitri of Jane Tu ya Jane Na, or Sunita Kapoor of Kapoor and Sons, or my favorite, Mrs. Kapoor from Ek Main Aur Ek Tu. I was looking at your filmography, ma'am. It has over 40 titles. Are you always been so selective when it comes to signing a movie?
Yes, I do. I do like to participate in films that I think that resonate with what I feel and think. Even if my part is not terribly large or anything like that, as long as it challenges me a little bit, I'm very happy to be part of any project which is saying something that rings true to the world that I see around me. Unfortunately, I've been given the opportunity to do so many such stories. I've really been lucky. Earlier on, I didn't get a huge amount of work when I was younger, and I feel that that has been very useful for me. It gave me a chance to grow up and to become a better actor. I don't think I was particularly skilled when I first started out. But over the years, I have learned and I have become significantly more confident about what I'm doing. So I'm glad that I'm getting these opportunities today, just at a time when I was imagining I'm going to be retired and I was wondering what to do with myself. Here I am getting some interesting work. So I'm not complaining.
You know, nepotism is one topic that keeps coming up each time a star kid makes acting debut. Your mom, Ratna Pathak, was one of the most successful actors of Indian cinema. What are your views on nepotism and getting a break?
These terms were not so commonly used when I was starting out, you know. Star kid, what was that? I mean, most of the stars were still struggling to become stars and keep being stars themselves. Their kids were too young to really come into the picture. That happened a little later. But the fact that my mother was already involved in the profession was a double-edged sword, actually. The fact that she did a lot of theatre, I saw her doing a lot of theatre before she started doing films. In fact, I saw her theatre work much more. It impacted me much more for sure. So before Ma started doing a lot of films, that's what she used to do. I used to go to the theatre with her all the time. Film, I didn't go to all that much. So I didn't have too much of a sense of what kind of world this film world is. One thing I knew, that it was not terribly glamorous. People from outside the industry feel that it is an extremely glamorous profession. But no, it isn't. Except for a very few people right at the top of the pile, everyone else, and my mother was part of that everyone else, is not treated particularly specially, you know. So that's a myth, that you get so struck by the glamour of everything. I wasn't. In fact, I saw the hard work constantly. I couldn't buy into the magic of film. I sometimes feel sorry about that. When I see a film, I'm not entirely taken in the way a friend who has not grown up in a family like this is.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I can see all the work, all the differences, all the tricks that have been played to make this appear as wonderful as it is, etc. I can't buy into the magic so much. So that was a problem in some ways. In other ways, it helped me be more realistic about the profession. It helped me realize that I should be trained. I don't know enough about the business of acting. So I should get myself some information, some knowledge, and some experience. which is why I went to the NSD at that time. So I don't think that my path was a star kid's path. Nobody made a film for me. Nobody made a play for me. I fitted in wherever I could. And for many years, I did all kinds of tiny, tiny things. Didn't matter. I was getting experience. I was learning. So that's one thing. Today, of course, things are different. Star children belonging from film families are launched as if they were ships or something, poor dears. And then, the pressure is terrible. It is terrible. I've seen it from my own family. All my children are actors. All my children have suffered this double-edged sword. Some benefits of being able to meet people more easily, in getting contacts more easily, definitely. But very hard to prove yourself with mommy and daddy sitting over your shoulder all the time. Very hard to prove yourself. Very hard to make your own way. So it is a double-edged sword. And I don't think I or my children have followed quite the star kid path.
I want to talk about Sunita Kapoor, the character that you play in Kapoor and Sons. Now, Shakun, it's directed by Shakun Batra. Shakun has famously said that he loves choreographing the chaos. And the famous plumber scene from Kapoor and Son is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Where you're confronting Rajat Kapoor's character. Would you please like to talk to us about what is it like to shoot such a scene whose outcome actually depends a lot on the response of your co-actors?
Yes. And it's great fun because that's very close to what we do in the theater. You are feeding off each other all the time. You're not doing it in little bits and pieces. You are running the whole scene through. So you have a sense of continuity that you don't normally get in the way a regular film scene is shot. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It means more rehearsal. I know that there are actors who don't like to rehearse a lot, particularly film actors. They often say that, spontaneity khatam ho jati hai, magic khatam ho jata hai, vagara vagara. I don't believe in that one little bit. I personally feel rehearsal makes that magic. There is no such thing as spontaneity in performance. You, in an absolutely large sense, you know what you're doing. You just shift your eyes from across your co-star to look this way, and you can see the camera man standing there with a cutter trying to block your light. There is no, you can't go into a trance when you're working. It's pointless. It's not good. So rehearsal helps you to overcome that and become sure of what you are doing. So as far as Kapoor and Sons is concerned, I was very fortunate because everyone on that cast, all the youngsters were totally willing to go with this kind of blocking style. Rajat, of course, is an old theatre hand. He knows very well the benefit of a scene like that. And I think mainly it was the people, and the poor boy who was doing the plumber, he was just spot on. He was just so perfect that it happened very easily. He too is a theatre man, has done some theatre. So all of us, that's Rajat and the two boys and the plumber and me, all of us were totally in the scene, totally willing to go with it. We did several retakes. We did many, many rehearsals. And I found that entirely fascinating. I loved it.
But does the drama comes out when you make it like very staged and fully rehearsed?
Yes, you saw it. You saw the scene. You felt that the drama came out, right?
Yeah, very nice.
Yes, you didn't think of it as staged and rehearsed. Rehearsal doesn't mean looking stagey. That's bad acting. Rehearsal means becoming really good. So you can't tell I'm acting.
Yeah. So what is the first day like for you on a shoot? Do you also judge or try to understand a director's vision?
The first day of shooting is often a very crucial day because a lot of relationships get formed that day. A lot of future references get created that day. So it is a very tricky scene. And if it's actually the first day of shooting for the whole unit, then it becomes really quite significant and important. The director is often, particularly if it's a first-time director, it's a rather overwhelming day for that person. But usually I find that it also creates this wonderful energy where everyone realizes, okay, we are in the same boat together. and we have to pull together if we are to get this boat across. And that excitement also sets in on that first day. Sometimes that excitement takes a while to create. That bonding takes a while to create, which is also good because all of us have to discover each other. In a film like Kapoor and Sons, where we are supposed to be family, I'm glad we got some time to rehearse together before we started shooting, because that gave us some time to become comfortable with each other and behave with each other like we would if we were really family. Mother and son, the body language between mother and son is completely different from a body language with a stranger. So all that we got a chance to sort out before we actually began shooting. But in something like the film that I have done recently called Dhak Dhak, which is about four women who don't know each other, who decide to go on a bike ride together. Now, that kind of a thing, you don't need to know the other. And as it happened, I didn't know the others too well. So we formed relationships as we went along, and I think that helped in the film.
Kutch Express is a film which is in Gujarati. Was connecting to the roots was also a big reason for you to do this film. And do you
Yes,
speak
yes.
Gujarati at home?
Yes. Yes, to both. Connecting with my roots, my language particularly, was a very big reason to do this film. And yes, we spoke in Gujarati. That's the first language I learned, as I said. And I spoke in Gujarati with my mother's family. My dad, who was a Punjabi, incidentally, he too learned how to speak Gujarati. So we spoke a lot of Gujarati at home. But now all my old relatives with whom I could speak Gujarati have moved on. Now it's really a handful of friends and Supriya and maybe a cousin or two that I get a chance to speak to Gujarati in. So I love it when I get a chance to meet up with my Sarabhai clan because they're all Gujaratis. So I get a great time using that language happily. I had a wonderful time on Kutch Express connecting with the language. And I was so happy that I fell into the language quite easily. I was a little worried, I have to say, because it's not only Gujarati the way urban people speak Gujarati, it's Gujarati the way is spoken in Saurashtra Kathiawad, that side. So it is a language I've again heard as a child. My mother often spoke in that kind of Gujarati. And when I traveled in Gujarat, I have heard that myself. So all that came back to me and I found it wonderfully exciting. But yes, language is a very important part of performance. And therefore, it's very important to make the language your own, whatever the language it may be. And I have spent a long time learning language well because I like it personally. I just enjoy speaking languages well. And I speak Gujarati, Marathi, Hindi, Urdu, and English, all of them fairly well. At least my pronunciation is correct for the most part.
And you're also somebody who speaks her mind. Like few years ago on our roundtable, you made a very important point when you said we need to raise our boys better. And your husband, Naseeruddin Shah, is also someone who expressed his opinion, which often invite trolling. Do you think today's strong and neutral voices from the industry are silent because of the backlash?
I guess so to a certain extent, but I think it's really always a personal choice. There are some people who feel the need to speak up about what they see around them. And there are others who are happy to go with the flow. That's not just true in our industry. So to stop pointing fingers at us all the time. This has become a little, national pastime. That's a bit problematic. I think how many people from the, say, pharmaceutical industry speak up about the problems in the pharmaceutical world? How many people from the automobile industry speak up about the problems in manufacture of automobiles, the unfairness there, etc. So, I mean, people don't always speak up, and it's a personal choice. It's not something that can be enforced upon you. I feel like speaking up because I feel that I have been given the mind to think things through and a voice that is heard at least by a few people. So I should make use of that. And therefore I do. And if I get trolled for it, tough luck. I mean, one has to put up with the rubbish as well as with the praise, no?
So then, ma'am, what made you say that that you said you have asked Nasir Saab not to speak because you fear that somebody will come out and do a dharna outside your home?
Yeah, when the things are getting really hot, you do feel like that once in a while. But I would never stand in Nasir's way if he decides to speak up about something. And I know that he would be able to take the consequences. I worry sometimes that my children will face the consequences, but they're all adults now. And I think they are able to take whatever comes their way. And I still think that there are many, many good people in this country, many, many more than the trolls that are showing themselves off so much just now. I place my trust in that which is good in my country. And I know there is a lot that is very, very good in our country still.
And finally, is there a film that you think which has changed your life, or the one that inspires you a lot, that you keep revisiting and you find something new each time you watch it?
Well, there are a lot of films I do that for just out of pure enjoyment. I love watching the old MGM song and dance musicals, for example. But that's just pure entertainment. I mean, whenever I'm bored or I'm really depressed, I put on Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and I cheer up immediately. So those are different kinds of films. But there are certain films that I go back to over and over again to see what they meant for the development of film language and of, a film like Roshawan, for example, or a film like Citizen Kane, a film like, Kurosawa's Macbeth. I mean, those kind of films you keep going back to because they show you something more about life each time you visit them.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I can't say so much about similar things about Hindi movies because often Hindi movies don't lend themselves to that kind of revisiting. But a lot of the films made in the, for example, Satyajit Ray's films or Mrinal Sen's films, I have gone back and rewatched them and have had very different opinions now from what I did when I first saw that. And the one person that I did not understand much when I was younger, and now I'm totally fascinated by, is Ritwik Ghatak.
Okay.
I think Ghatak's films have stood the test of time wonderfully.
Yes.
There are films that have stood the test of time. Mughal-e-Azam is one such film. Or Masoom is one such film. There are certain films that you can revisit happily. As far as my own work is concerned, I like to revisit Sarabhai versus Sarabhai because I spot so many things that I should have done differently. So that's my retraining for myself. And Lipstick Under My Burqa.
Oh.
That's another film that I find I discover new things about when I watch it again. So these two films, yeah. Kapoor and Sons also, I do feel. It bears rewatching. I don't get bored the second time.
Thank you. We love Maya and we never get bored of her. Thank you so much and best of luck, man.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you.